정확히 본 것 같습니다.
자, 이제 준결승 두 번째 경기입니다. 익산고등학교의 이재현 선수와 광명고등학교의 박승원 선수 맞대결입니다.
네, 이재현 선수 주특기는 손목입니다.
네.
익산중학교 출신이고
네.
박승원 선수 광명중학교 주특기 역시 머리입니다.
네.
머리와 손목의 그 싸움이게 되겠습니다. 지금 주심을 보고 있는 김정국 선생은 우리나라에서 그 입상 경력이 가장 많은 선수 출신 중에 선수 출신 할 때 가장 많은 그 선수였습니다.
예.
지금 지도자로서도 아주 훌륭한 지도자죠.
자, 준결승 두 번째 경기 시작됐습니다. 이재현과 박승원. 자, 이재현 선수가 칼을 좀 흔들어 보고 있습니다. 자, 손목. 네. 자, 상대가 공격할 때 이 받는 기술이 상당히 중요한 것 같아요.
네, 지금 같이 쳤죠. 그래서
네.
상쇄됐다고 하죠.
네.
칼이 같이 부딪혀가지고 점수가 안 되죠. 이 선수는 앞에 선수들하고 다르게 조금 칼을 겨누어서 침착하게 경기를 하는 것 같습니다.
네. 자, 앞으로 몰아세웠던 이재현. 자, 칼을 들어왔던 이재현. 그 사이에 박승원이 공격을 시도했습니다.
박승원이 지금 공격해 들어가는 그 태세가 아주 좋습니다.
네.
공세가 아주 좋습니다.
자, 중심이 잘 흐트러지지 않고 있네요.
네, 이재현 선수가 그 압박에 못 이겨서 지금 공격이 나오는 거거든요.
네.
기회를 잡아서 나오는 게 아니고 압박하니까 두려워서 지금 칼이 나오는데
그렇군요. 계속해서 압박하는 효과가 있는 거죠.
네, 맞습니다.
네.
지금 계속 겨눔이 아주 좋습니다.
네. 자, 일단 이재현 선수도 잘 버티고 있습니다.
이렇게 하다가도 순간적으로 바뀌는 거기 때문에요.
네. 자, 손목. 네.
옷소매에 칼이 걸렸습니다.
그렇군요. 두 선수 다시 자세를 잡습니다. 머리. 잘 막아내고 있는 박승원. 지금도 동시에 부딪혔습니다. 네.
박승원 선수 머리가 먼저 쳤는데
네네.
빗나가고 그 이재현 선수 머리도 역시 빗나갔습니다.
이제 1분 정도 남아 있습니다.
원래 검도에서 가장 훌륭한 점수는 정중선과 일치한 격자를 했을 때 가장 좋은 격자라고 할 수 있습니다.
네.
그러니까 정중선이나 사람 몸의 한 가운데를 정중선이라고 하는데
네.
거기와 일치한 격자가 가장 훌륭한 격자라고 할 수 있습니다.
그렇군요. 다시 겨눈 자세. 이재현이 수비했습니다.
박승원 선수는
Welcome everybody, my name is Jose, I am a Golden in Kendo. This is Kendo Tips and today we're going to be watching some Kendo together, watching some Kendo Ippons, trying to learn, trying to pick up something to implement in our Kendo. So how are you doing today? I hope everybody's doing good, getting some good practice. Galaxy, thank you very much for passing by on the stream. I think like me, you have practice later on today, so it's gonna be awesome. The plan for today for the stream is going to be, I actually got a video recommendation in the Discord server and I'm going to use that stream to kind of showcase a little bit of Ippons in different categories. I thought it would be a kind of a cool thing to see how Kendo develops in different categories on a Korean tournament. So a couple of different things that we're gonna see. Hopefully we can pick up some of these things and put into our own Kendo. So let me just finish up setting up everything. If you would like, let me always like to put this out there. I'm gonna put, oh, I misspelled it, sorry. I have a Kendo Tips server, for a Discord server that you can join. It's completely free. And there, if you have any questions, you can pass by, let me know. Also, the video that I got today, it was a recommendation from one of the users of the server right now. So it's a good way if you want to send out some videos of yourself for me to use in the stream and so on. It's a great point. It's a great place to do so. So let me just make sure I set everything up. Okay. So this video is from a Korean tournament, which I think is going to be very interesting to watch in the sense that a couple of things happen that I think are different than when we used to. For example, at the beginning, there's no Songkyo. So it's kind of interesting to see this approach as well. And hopefully we can, if you have any questions about anything that happens, let me know and we can try to figure it out. Okay, so let me just make sure that I put the video here. Okay. The cool thing about what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the, what is the name, in the chat box. I'm gonna put the link to the stream, so if you guys would like to go see it on your own, that you can do so. Give me 1 second. And again, this is called the SBS Cup Kendo King Championship 2023. And it's very interesting name, very cool name. So something to keep in mind, maybe if you're hosting a tournament, you can set up cool name like this. So okay, I just put the link of the video on the chat box. Anyways, okay, today's stream, what I'm going to avoid making it too long. I kind of want to make it a little bit shorter. First, because I've been super busy this week and a couple of things that I need to take care of, so don't want to spend too much time here. But again, I'm here and we're gonna watch some Kendo. Gas, the user that sent this video, gave me some timestamps for this. So I'm gonna use that to kind of guide us through the tournament. First thing, I want to go to the high school semifinals, and they're in minute 36:20, which is close to where I was here. Okay. So the plan that I have for this video specifically is kind of just to see how the Kendo is approached, not only energy-wise, but also difference of techniques and approaching of the opponent. So you're gonna be able to see maybe attention to details and control of the sword for one level more than the other. And we kind of want to discuss those a little bit to see what can we implement in our Kendo to kind of elevate our level and also probably hopefully do better in competitions. One thing that from this image that I don't like, if you look at the Kenshi on the left, the way that he's holding his shiai, this kind of just like puts me off onto looking at him. Okay, there's always something that I try to keep in mind, and is how are the judges going to perceive me. So you want to make sure that you do, you know, your basics or your first impression good, so the judges kind of don't look away from you. And I think this is one of the things that maybe will make the judges look at him, but for the wrong reasons. And you want to make sure that your sword is not, pointing down. It's more like the guy on the right with the white kendogi.
소속이고 주특기 역시 머리입니다. 김상윤 선수가
So there is no sonkyo, but is that? Oh, I went too far.
거의 막아주고
Sorry, hold on.
저거 박경이 역시 일반부들이 비난을 받는 게
역시도
This was the previous fight. Sorry.
순간에 지금 했는데
고현준 선수의
Ah, sorry guys. Hold on. I messed up. I clicked. This is what I hate about doing live streams. You doing videos of live streams because you click something and you go to the wrong place so quickly. But okay, I was right here.
있습니다.
So the way they come in, they bow and they step forward, also a little bit too rushed. So to me, what that says is kind of maybe the white kendogi, white, actually he's also wearing white for the tournament, will probably be the one that has a little bit more understanding. Rise, welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by.
키가 184군요.
네.
신장 면에서는 유리합니다.
자, 고등부 준결승 첫 경기. 인천고의 장지원, 강명고의 김상윤.
자꾸 지금 장기원 선수 들어서 막고 있습니다.
One thing that I can appreciate of this level of competition is the ability to move the sword with power behind it. So many times when you see this type of movement with somebody that's not experienced, the wrist kind of tends to break off, like not break off, but kind of like lose a grip on it as they do like a lot of extra motion. And one thing that I feel both of them are doing pretty well is that they're keeping their hands on their shiai, above their shiai, to be able to have better control of it.
오는 4분의 경기 시간입니다.
지금 몸이 나가지 않고 칼만 나가죠.
네,
그래서는 절대 좋은 칼이 나올 수 없습니다.
그렇군요.
I'm guessing this pause has to do with the
그리고 몸까지
provisional rules.
해야 된다는 이야기죠.
Louis, thank you for passing by on the stream. You're always welcome.
그 사신이라고 해서 자기 몸을 버리고 들어가야 된다.
아, 그렇군요. 자, 과감하게 움직이는 김상윤.
This is a bad habit that I tend to see a lot, and on myself and in general to people, is that hitting and pulling the sword back immediately to cover. Watch. So when you do this, a lot of the times what ends up happening is that you take away energy from the strike. This strike or this intention is very sharp, very solid. So it's not what's happening here, but this is something that you might want to be careful from. When you throw your attack, are you immediately pulling back? Because then you're fighting against the momentum of the sword. Granted, I feel that a lot of these things, a lot of these moments are kind of opportunities that present themselves through excessive movement. So it's kind of for me like a 50-50 type of thing at this point.
자, 과감하게 움직이는 김상윤.
I don't think anybody is in control of the fight for it. Let's just say that, right? Yet.
장지원. 자, 칼을 힘껏 뻗어봤습니다.
고등부 선수라 연타가 많이 나오죠.
네. 자, 머리.
짧았습니다.
This is very interesting. Very interesting approach.
많이 나오죠.
네.
Watch this. White approaches with a big motion, right? This a lot of time works because it makes people hesitate and go back, as Red did right now. But you have to come in with a lot of confidence. After, he keeps adjusting his footwork to be at the right distance. And instead of going directly for the man, he tries to control the sword. And then throw the technique. It is kind of hard to do. I feel that at this position, White has the advantage because he has the momentum forward and it could easily make it all the way to red. Obviously, red's footwork is very good, but for anybody that doesn't have that much of experience with footwork, this will be a very bad situation to be. To go backwards, to be in a position where you have to go backwards with your sword down, this is very dangerous. So the one thing that I can say that red is doing specifically good, that is making it possible for him to be safer, is to keep his shiai in front of his opponent. You see, many times, earlier when I say the sword down means after white dropped the shiai down. But keeping the shiai on the opponent is what's keeping him safe. Rather than having the shiai down, many people put the shiai down completely and go back. Later on, when his opponent, I went too far back, hold on. When his opponents bring the shiai down, this is a scary situation to be in, but still he tries to regain the control and keep his opponent away. Now, his opponent saw an opportunity because he went around his shiai, but definitely a good, very interesting exchange. So if you are on the way back, I guess moral of the story here is that if you're going backwards like this, always try to keep your center to keep yourself safe. Okay. Right, it makes the judges look at you, at your strikes as incomplete. Correct. A lot of times when you pull back the sword after as you're throwing the strike, it makes the strike kind of like slow down towards the end, number one. And number two, it does this. It takes it away because the judges are thinking, he doesn't have the confidence. Meaning that he doesn't have the confidence that was a strike and he wanted to protect. So many aspects can go into this.
자, 머리.
짧았습니다.
네. 쉽게 내주지 않고 있습니다.
White now, although he's not controlling the opponent, I think he's in a better position at this point.
사실은 칼로서 속이려고 하면 안 좋은
I feel that he's making him go back, but whenever he's going back, he's attacking.
기세로서 또는 그 몸으로서 상대를 압박하고 거리로서 상대를 압박하고 그래서 거기서 흔들리게 만들어서 쳐야지 칼로 흔들어서 치면은 오히려 빈틈이 상대한테 많이 보이기 때문에
그렇군요.
칼을 흔들어서는 안 됩니다.
네.
근데 이제 어린 선수이기 때문에 아무래도 좀 그런
Oh, I just realized that my
상당히 좀 의욕적으로 하려다 보니까 다시 경기장 중앙으로
So now they're doing Golgi. Let's see if they do a.
상당히 심판이 보였습니다.
Are they doing a?
시작이 됩니다.
Okay, so let's try to figure out what was the Hansoku here.
상당히 좀
선수이기 때문에 아무래도 좀 그런 칼이 많이 나오고 있습니다.
상당히 좀 의욕.
아무래도 칼을 흔들어서는 안 됩니다.
네.
근데 이제 어린 선수이기 때문에 아무래도 좀 그런 칼이 많이 나오고 있습니다.
상당히 좀
This is weird, right? Because I feel that White.
때문에
그렇군요.
칼을 흔들어서는 안 됩니다.
Okay, White closes the distance,
때문에
and he's kind of staying there for a second, but then
칼이 많이 나오고
decides to go back, but then they give the Hansoku to White. So I wonder why did he get the Hansoku? Let me see, hold on, because my comments are kind of like in the wrong position for me to see them all the time. Yeah, right. You said I have no idea what that's for. What makes it kind of weird for me is that he was going backwards at the time where they called the Golgi, right? So it's like, what's happened? I don't know.
의욕적으로 하려다 보니까
I did like the fact that when they stopped the fight before, instead of giving the Golgi, they were just kind of saying, okay, you have to do this, instead of just giving the Golgi right away. So
경기 재개됩니다.
고등이 싸움에서 아마 제가 잘 못 봤는데 꼬댕이 싸움에서 붙어서 안 떨어지려고 해서 반칙을 준 것 같습니다.
김상윤 선수에게 반칙이 들어갔습니다.
네.
So I always make the I always make the I always make the observation that you shouldn't just throw your attacks from far away because it can become very predictable. And I think this is a good example of that.
제가 잘 못 봤는데 꼬댕이 싸움에서 붙어서 안 떨어지려고 해서
So his opponent, white, throws an attack from very far, and red, because of all the amount of time, because of the amount of time that it takes him to get to red, it becomes predictable. But not only that, it doesn't take much for him to make his distant miss, right? So ideally, I would have tried to bring the back foot a little bit closer before committing to this technique. So at this point, based on how far he is and how far, especially how far the kamae from red is, you want to make sure, because this could be tricky. When you look at this as you're fighting, when you feel the shinai, you say, oh, okay, I'm by the nakayui, I guess, and maybe I can attack from here. So it could be tricky if you're not taking in consideration how far your opponent's hands are. And what I would have done, or not saying what I would have done because, I'm not there, but I think a good thing to do at this position is, instead of committing right away, is just taking half a second or a little bit of time to bring the back foot forward to, number one, see the reaction of the opponent, number two, then he can have a little bit of extra reach to throw forward. That being said, look at this crazy leg right here. What's going on with this leg? He's bringing the leg backwards before bringing it forward. It's kind of funny. Never seen this before. Anyways, hope that makes sense.
떨어지려고 해서 반칙을 준 것 같습니다.
김상윤 선수에게 반칙이 들어갔습니다.
네.
자, 머리.
잘못
김상윤 선수에게
고등이 싸서 안 떨어지려고 해서 제가 잘 못 봤는데 고등이 싸움
Okay, can you guys hear me? I don't know what happened. I don't know how my... Thank you, Galaxy, for letting me know. Okay, I don't know how far back you guys heard me, but I'm going to say this. Let me get back into why I say that this is far. The distance, right now, from this distance, it is possible to hit the man. But it is possible to hit the man to a non-moving target. Like, if the person is not going to react, yes. If you're doing your kihon, this is okay. And this is what I mean by throwing your steps from far. When we do kihon, we want to have the reach. This is a good for kihon, but you cannot engage into a technique blindly from this distance. Why? Because your opponent, if he's ready, you're gonna get counter, and at the very best, you're gonna get dodged. So when he throws his step forward, he's keeping his back foot at the same position, which means that he's going to be able, he still can go, especially at this skill level, he can still reach it. but his opponent is equally skilled. So he hasn't gotten any reaction. When he's coming forward in here, he doesn't have the back leg engaged closer where he can push him in quicker and stronger toward his opponent. So his opponent is able to see him coming, shift the weight to the front leg and do a slight back motion. And it's far enough. Look how little he moves. Look how little he has to move. Also using the shiai, and how far his opponent has to go. So it is not far as in like it can be reached. I understand this. What I'm saying is too far to be able to get there in time without having any control of your opponent. So I agree with you. He has a lot of mechanics that could be fixed. For example, having his legs a little bit closer, that would help a lot. But the main thing is engaging, because you see this a lot, especially at lower levels. People just shoot without anything behind it, and they shoot from so far, maybe because they're anxious to just hit. So that's the main point when I say about this distance being too far. Do practice lunging and being able to attack from this distance, because sometimes the opportunity will be there. But what I'm saying is that you cannot just blindly go. Hope that makes sense.
붙어서 안 떨어지려고 해서 반칙을 준 것 같습니다.
김상윤 선수에게 반칙이 들어갔습니다. 자, 머리
Again, so you see White goes backwards with the shiai forward.
피했습니다. 자, 한 번 더 부딪혔는데요.
손목을 들어갔으나 칼을
You see, and I think a lot of the times when they throw that kote and bringing it back up, it ends up being because they know that they're throwing the kote or they're throwing the technique at random. And at this point, they also feel that, okay, if I miss, I have to cover because they can get hit.
그래서 미끄러졌죠. 손목이.
손목. 손목.
It's a really, really interesting exchange. Let's watch it real quick. So Red went to throw a kote. White kind of replied with a man. One thing that I admire at this level, one thing that I admire from this type of kendo at this level is the fact that here they understand to not be afraid to just go. So I know I said that right now that you don't want to just shoot your shot from so far distance, whatever, but there has to be a balance between you not going either, right? And at this level, I feel, especially when I go to when I have practice like in high schools in Japan and things like this, the main thing is that they're not afraid to go. And you can see this in this type of kendo as well. Early on, you do want to have your ability to just commit to a technique, but as you progress, you want to have the ability to understand how to make the opportunities. So it could be confusing depending on what level you are, and I think everybody, depending on the level, they should focus on something specific. So if you're at a point where you feel that you are not attacking, you get stuck a lot, practice just going. But as you progress, understand how to make the opportunities to then attack. Hope that makes sense. I know it can be confusing.
다시 거리를 유지하고 있습니다. 남은 시간 1분 20여 초. 조금 짧아요.
So I always say you want to try to engage your legs before your hands. We were talking in previous streams about the whole controlling the sword or faking the opponent. But if you look at this, he's moving, he's trying to control. White is trying to control the opponent's sword without any leg movement. I mean, there is leg movement right here, right? Like he's moving forward, but he's sinking down before going forward, you see? He's not on a forward motion, where what I try to do, or I think it's a better approach, is to try to control the sword as you're moving forward. So that way, if you succeed, you can go forward. But also, it's just not to close any door. So you want to make sure that you have, as you approach, okay, sorry. The idea is to approach the opponent as you try to control the sword rather than just control the sword and seeing if you can go. Because if you start engaging the movement, if you start engaging your legs after you control, there's big chance that your opponent can recover the center as you approach them. So instead of just holding the sword and then shooting, you want to try to you want to keep your door open. So you want to kind of approach as you try to take control. If the opportunity is there, you can go. If the opportunity is not, then you can reassess and readjust. Hope that makes sense. And I think this is a very clear way of seeing it, where he comes down on his feet. He grounds himself with both feet as he approaches the opponent. Watch. See, at this point, kind of like the momentum is killed. Now, don't get me wrong. These guys have explosive power, so they could shoot very quickly from this position. But I'm saying, especially if he would have brought his legs a little bit closer together and he would have approached them as he's trying to suppress the sword, I think he would have opened himself to more possibilities too. Let me know what you guys think. Rice, you're saying interesting. We must know when to strike with no hesitation. However, if you do that in the wrong moment, it's obvious. Yeah, I love Kendo too. It could be confusing, like to explain, especially here where I'm just going back and forth with different things. But yeah, I think it's a progression, and this is one of the reasons why I always think that Shikake Wasa it's taught before Oji Wasa. And between Shikake Wasa and Oji Wasa, I think the link, the way I see it, or like, I don't know, my visualization, the link between Shikake and Oji Wasa is Devana Wasa, right? Because you still have to show the commitment, but you're not really waiting for the opponent. But then when you go to Oji Wasa, you should have the understanding that you're not there waiting to cover and to deflect. You're putting pressure, you're trying to go forward, and as the opponent come in is when you deflect them, rather than just wait. So yeah, I think it's a progression, and I could talk for days about this. You see, so here is a good example of sorry, I went back too much. Here's a good example of approaching. Give me 1 second. Let me go back. Okay. So here, I think it's a good example of approaching your opponent with your legs engaged and trying to suppress, and what to do if you failed. Watch. He comes forward as he tries to suppress the sword. He misses the sword so that he readjusts. Trying to readjust the feet, trying to readjust the center, adapt to the situation. So the fact that he's coming like this, at least is opening the door for different possibilities. And of course, anything could happen. White could have stroke as well. But what I'm saying is, as you coming in with momentum from your legs, it's easier for you to take the opportunity for the strike rather than being there waiting. Then you try to suppress the sword. Maybe you see an opening, but by the time that you get there, your opponent also adjusted.
근데 지금 거기 벗어난 거리에서 치기 때문에 닿질 않죠.
자, 2분 정도 남았습니다. 손목 자 제대로 안 들어가네요.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I saw the first Ippon that gets scored here, and I would like to get your thoughts on it when it comes out.
그렇습니다. 김상윤 자 맞고 반격.
One thing that you can appreciate for, I know many times as we grow in our kendo, we're trying to replicate a lot of things that we see in videos. And one of the things that I think is, desire is the continuation of techniques, be able to attack several times. to move the sword around in different positions and so on. All of this has to be done with proper footwork. So one thing that I'm seeing constantly with both Kenshi is that their feet are under their bodies. Their body's not leaning forward. And if there is, like for example here, when he's about to lean forward, immediately bringing the feet under, so they have the possibility to quickly go into the next technique.
쉽지 않네요. 남은 시간 30초.
일반부보다 칼을 많이 쓰죠.
그렇습니다. 다시 물러나서 공격.
Okay,
자, 네.
let's watch it one more time.
다시 물러나서 공격 준비.
What do you guys see? I'm gonna take a moment here, and I wanna know what you guys think. Maybe I'll play in slow motion in a second, but it's a very interesting exchange. Yeah, I would like to get your thoughts. Let me play it for you guys one more time. Hold on, where it went? It went.
다시 물러나서 공격 준비.
One more time. Sorry, I stopped there earlier.
다시 물러나서 공격 준비.
So, I'll break it down. Let me know what you think the results are, and what do you think about this this Ippon. It's a very interesting exchange. I'm gonna break it down from earlier too. Give me a second. Okay.
다시 물러나서 공격 준비. 자, 네.
Okay. So, first thing, right. So you're saying it looks like meant to you. Kayashido was a second slow, and I think you're in the right track for what the same thing I saw. I'm not saying that I'm right, because obviously I'm not a shimpan there, but I do see the men hitting before, right? Like the men. I think the men totally made contact right there. It's really hard to see with this point. You stole my words, Gregory. Like, you stole my words, because I agree with you. Red looked like he was waiting, trying to bait, but not fast enough. And this is the reason why I just said the whole thing with understanding Shikake Wasa before Oji Wasa, right? Let's break it down for a second.
다시 물러나서 공격 준비.
So, red puts pressure in until certain point, right? Until this point right here, it kind of almost looks like he's ready to go, but he's a little bit too grounded. And okay, right here. But what ends up happening is that, look, red comes in, white returns the pressure. Red is trying to kind of suppress the sword. He looks ready, but again, he looks like he just brought his weight down. He's a little bit, I'm not gonna say flat-footed, because it's not really flat-footed, but it looks like he's there just waiting. After white returned that pressure, he decides to start going forward with a technique, and red hasn't been able to do anything yet. This is why you want to have a forward intention when you're trying to do these techniques, right? You don't want to just sink down. And white was able to come in to get the man there. The shimpans gave the Kayashido, so maybe he didn't make good contact, in the sense that we don't have, the best resolution, the best frame at the moment of impact. But that being said, I think that White came in at a very good time. But not only that he came at a very good time, I think Red was waiting too much. So when you're trying to do Kayashido, you want to avoid having that feeling of sinking into the floor. And instead, you want to kind of always be with intention forward towards the opponent. That way you can deflect and counter in one motion and get out of the way. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I think this is a very interesting exchange and something that happens quite often at the dojo, competitions, testing, and so on. Also, guys, if you would like to support the channel, I'm gonna put up the link to become a member. You can do so with even just 99 cents, and it will really help these videos keep coming and me to make more content for you guys. Let me just put that link out there. Okay. So, anyways, I think that the intention forward, it's the number one thing that you should have when you're trying to do any type of techniques, whether it's Shikake-waza or Oji-waza. Augusto, thank you very much for pressing by. Welcome. Discipline, you said that Red made a bad decision. You would have gone for men. White has bad mechanics for leaning his head too forward, bringing the target closer to Red. Okay, let's break this down. Let's see. I'm going to say this because I don't know if I agree with that, because it's kind of hard when you have this type of motion on the men to go straight forward, because the way his arms are, the way that he's leaning, it will make it really hard for Red to get in there at this close distance. So how do I explain this? I know you guys at the dojo have had the opportunity where like you're coming in for men, and for some reason, even though you might be faster than your partner, he's getting the center out of you, and maybe he's not hitting you, but you cannot reach him. A lot of the times it happens is just by the way how the sword is coming and the type of swing that they're doing. A lot of times if they do such a big swing, and even though your swing is more compact, they can cut through your sword before you get to the men. And I think that's kind of what could happen at this point. So the cure to that is to get there at the right distance. A lot of times ends up being because you're too close, and just the hands of the opponent going up or down could deflect your strike. I'm not saying that that's what would have happened here, but I'm saying maybe I would have gone for men at this close distance without any previous momentum. Because of that, I think would have become kind of like a challenging, not a challenging, but like a messy exchange in that sense. I think the Kayashido was a good call. It's just he did it too late. Wait, hold on, let me. I think he was lucky that the judges gave that do, but I think it was man. You guys know what happened there, right? I'm sure that White knew that he had very little time. So at this point, he has to throw a Hail Mary. He has to do something to try to get that point. So he comes in from a very far distance. He's just coming in blindly to attack. And Red throws a kote pretty much in place from where he started. I think the kote looks kind of messy, so I don't know if it was a good kote there. But even so, he would have missed the man. Now, I understand that at this time, he has to push. I'm going to give you different scenarios. For me, if this would have been a team competition, I would have not done what White did. if I lost my point and I know my time is almost over, I wouldn't try to risk it to get a point for myself because of the team, right? Maybe my team is above, so I don't want to lose by 2 points, and I want to make sure that my team, goes up. That being said, if it's an individual competition, obviously I would have done something similar to this. I would have tried to come in fast and sharp, but I understand that this is normally not the best approach. Number one, because a lot of the times they're expecting it, right? So it's kind of tricky to get into this position. I saw a video, maybe I should try to find it at some point and show it, where one of the guys hits a man, and for the very next technique, the guy comes in from the hajime. He comes in to lift the hands for men and do gyakudo and gets the gyakudo. So in this kind of exchange, it makes it where like the opponent kind of took advantage of the fact that his enemy, the Kenshi took advantage that his opponent or his enemy had the expectation that he was coming in fast. So he used that fake to the men to open up to do gyakudo. So it's something that you want to kind of always keep in consideration. I don't know if you guys saw my stream with the sports psychologist last week, but a lot of the things that kind of she was saying as an advice to kind of improve in these situations is to be prepared for these type of things. So guys, I encourage you to kind of analyze any possibilities that could happen before a tournament and try to have a preparation for some of the things, especially that make you afraid. Being in this position where you're down is a position of a lot of tension. So what would you do? I'm going to tell you this. I will try to use the knowledge that my opponent has that I'm going to be desperate and try to use that to my advantage to make him make a bad decision. So I just give you an example. You throw the man, you're going to go for a man, you make him cover, and you do gyakudo. Just set up yourself with a couple scenarios. We can talk about that at some point. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Really appreciate it. It really helps out. And hopefully soon I have a couple plans. Actually, I'll tell you guys. I'm planning to go to Japan pretty soon. So I was thinking maybe doing some members streams where I can meet up with some people. Because, I want to figure out what can I do extra for the members. And maybe meet up with some people's dojos and stuff like that for practices and things like this. I'm always a little bit hesitant in sharing the practices at the dojo because I know I have to ask permission to everybody. So I kind of don't want to, be disrespectful in that manner. But maybe if I can do like group sessions with some people and things like this and just stream that, I think that will be a great thing to do. But anyways, thank you very much for becoming a member. I really appreciate it.
자, 한 번 더. 네, 이번엔 정확하게 장지원.
So crazy
그러니까 그냥 뛰어 들어갔는데
crazy exchange as well. Okay, so this was one of the high school semifinals. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take it to college semifinals, right? See if we can tell some of the differences of how they approach the fight. Great value for Kendo and Saturday entertainment. Well, let's keep it going, man. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. So, I'm not familiar with Korean tournaments, but I'm seeing the pattern of blue on white. Do they do... If this guy has white for his... Yeah, I think he does for the Tatsuki. Yeah, so this is a cool idea to make sure that the judges don't make the wrong call, but it could be very stressful if you have to finish your fight and then have to go change your kendo gi, right? That being said, I don't know why we don't do more in kendo this type of things. I know if you probably seen like old school tournaments where the flag or the identifier for your color was on the tare rather than on your back. I think that this would help in a lot of tournaments, especially when the shimpan are not very experienced.
대표 선수로 들어갈 수 있거든요. 네. 남현주 선수도 뭐 우승 경력이 있고 대학 상급 국가대표 상비군까지 간 경력이 있군요.
그렇습니다.
If you guys see any difference that sticks out, please let me know.
검도 상비군 간 경력이 있습니다.
I have to say that for me, it looks like there are less attacks.
개인전 8강까지 진출한 경력이 있고
Right? You're saying that the footwork is different? Yeah, actually, they're not so spread out. Maybe, right?
8강 경력이 있습니다.
They do get spread out. Man, like sometimes I feel like these guys have wheels in their feet. Look at White. Look at how he moves forward.
학생 때 SBS의 8강 경력이 있습니다.
Are you guys like? Can you do this? This is crazy, man. Look at that. He starts the momentum, guys. Footwork, every step should feel easier than the previous step, right? So this is a thing. When you have good footwork, you create momentum from the first step and then you keep it going. If you look at this footwork right here, he pushes. White is going to push with the back leg first and then just keeps the momentum with the footwork. Right? So instead of just landing on each foot to go to the next step, he's kind of just keeping the momentum going by just kind of pulling himself forward. Watch it in real time. Watch.
SBS의 8강 경력이 있습니다.
So he creates momentum with the foot. He creates momentum with the back foot, and then he keeps it going with both feet. Back foot pushes, front foot pulls, but instead of landing down on each step, he's kind of just, I'm not gonna say hopping, but it's kind of just like gripping forward quickly, keeping his weight on the same level and making it look like he has wheels on his feet. It kind of like looks like the cartoons, right? When like they move their feet like in a wheel shape. I'm sorry for taking so much time on this, but this is amazing. Now you know what I'm gonna do today at the dojo. You can clearly see after the first push, the front foot pulls forward. See that? He pulls forward. As soon as the back foot lands, he pushes and front foot pulls. Push, pull all the time. Crazy. Okay, let me catch up with some of these comments. Augusto, you think something about psychological impact of the colors? What do you mean by that? Like for the judges to see better the colors? Or what do you mean? I really like here, like if you see that, you can see that they have the color. If red is associated with the blue kendo gi, they also have the blue tatsuki, the red tatsuki in the back and the flag on the side. So I think there's no doubt that when a judge sees one color, he's gonna be like, okay, this color was the one that did it. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Right, you're saying that this looks more like kendo. Yeah, like before it kind of looked like they were just tapping each other, right? Even though I'm sure that they got a lot of power behind their strike. But this one, they start showing more the control, I feel like. Augusto, the control of footwork is amazing. And Rice, you don't want to get in trouble. Discipline, you're saying looks like White's Oikomi practice paid off for that footwork. Listen, I'm gonna work today on that footwork and for the rest of the year. Makes me realize, Galaxy, you're saying that makes you realize you really need to work on footwork. Guys, I've been saying it. Look at the feet. I don't joke with this whole thing. Like, you know, the footwork is where everything comes from, because every step that he takes makes him available to take another step to attack, right? And it's consistent. You saw how he came forward. He came forward the same way.
고등이 싸움 다시 거리를 벌렸습니다.
Yeah, you see, it's a lot more communication on trying to pressure the opponent before attacking. Before, it looked like they were just going at random, right?
대학부는 또 또 고등부와는 다른 긴장감이 있죠.
네. 훨씬 무게감이 있죠.
네, 자,
Guys, the secret to Renzo Kuwasa to have the ability to hit multiple techniques in one commitment, let's just call it that, is to have proper footwork. If you look at what's happening here, look, red is going to attack forward, is going to come in with several techniques. He puts pressure forward with the foot, he engages the legs first, he goes for that kote, he misses, but he sees he has the good distance to attack for another technique. He throws for the man, but then he decides to go for another man because he didn't get the first one. He still had the momentum, still had the distance. So going along with what I said before on the footwork, this allows you, when you have solid footwork and fluid footwork, is not only to be faster approaching your opponent, but also to give you the stability you need to do another technique. So if you look at how he's doing the footwork on every time, push with the back leg, fumikomi, and immediately when he does a fumikomi, the back leg engages. Pushes for the next technique. As soon as the back leg lands there, pushes again, keeping both his feet under his body instead of him leaning forward and having his feet behind him. Oh, talking about that, I almost tripped. So he's able to not lean forward, have his foot under him, and have good energy and good stability to do another technique. Hope that makes sense. VKKV. Should first dan be dissuaded from doing tsuki? Okay, Rice, you answered that question. You said no. Others might do otherwise. Okay, let me give you my thoughts. I have people that join the dojo, they have 3 or 4 classes, and from that point on, I have them start knowing and practicing tsuki. I don't have them do tsuki full on or just, to do like a full tsuki. No, but number one, I want them to understand where the center line is and how to approach the center and how to have stability as they go. So it's not about throwing a hard strike and so on. The problem with tsuki is that many people don't know how to do it, and they do it where they... How do I say this? When you hit down, have you seen those moments where people hit down and the sword sticks to the target? Okay, this happens too with the tsuki. So many people do it where it goes like this, and if it goes in the wrong place, you can actually hurt somebody. So I know many people are kind of afraid of letting their students do that to somebody else that also doesn't know how to receive. So the problem for me ends up being that many people don't feel confident on doing it, and then many people don't feel confident on receiving it either, because maybe they had many bad experiences where they get the tsuki in the wrong place, and they also get scared. So they do things like going backwards before they get hit and things like this. That being said, I am from the thought that you should teach people how to do it from early on in a safe manner, progress them to feel more confident into it. During Jigeiko though, first dan, it depends on how confident you are and the relationship you have with the other person. Some tournaments may forbid, for example, don't do tsuki. They're not gonna count tsuki for the tournament. If you're calling for tournament specifically, I would say it depends on the rules of the tournament. If not, if you feel confident and you feel good enough and you feel that you can do it, I don't think why you shouldn't do it. That being said, it has to be done correctly. Did that answer the question? Because for me is I always like people to practice tsuki and start building up to have a confident, strong tsuki. I don't want them to feel scared of it, because if you start, like for example, if you start learning tsuki at first dan, you spend 2 years, more or less, on other techniques, and now you're going to start doing a brand new technique where you were told already that this was dangerous. So I think there's going to be a bad connotation to it, but I don't know, it's my opinion. Okay, I'll stop talking about that. Let me kind of catch up with the comments. Rise, you said the same thing. Augusto, you meant for the competitors. It might influence if the color is more present. It's kind of like why we have red inside of the mengane. Oh, maybe, I don't know. For me, it makes the difference in the colors for the competitors makes it such a good way to keep the shimpans on point. But I think you might be right. Maybe there could be a psychological thing about this. Okay, VK, you say it's helpful. Right, so you said, sorry, double negative answer. Your opinion, it is stopping them from learning it properly. Okay, you agree with me. It should be done. And it is stunning growth. Okay. Yeah, like progressively making people to feel comfortable with it. It's a good thing. Galaxy, you say you got Suki'd by an overconfident third Q who didn't really know what he was doing and it hurts. You see, and this is the point where I'm saying, people, like, if you're gonna do it, I don't agree with doing it in Jigeiko early on, having students do it in Jigeiko early on for that same reason, because they might just want to do it just because they feel cool on doing it or something, and they might not do it right. So once a person knows how to do it and maybe do different scenarios for them to feel confident with it, then I'll say, okay, you can do it. And I would prefer, for if they're my students, I prefer for them to start on me rather than going with anybody else. That being said, another reason why you want to do good Suki instead of doing that Suki where it sticks is because if you miss and it goes under the under the mendare, you can get stuck, and it's very easy for your opponent to kind of take control of your sword, get out, and then hit you. So, yeah, that's the reasoning behind it.
있죠.
네, 자. 머리를 노리면서 들어가봤던 남현준.
Yeah, you see, so like, and one thing that this does, that bad exchanges, is that it might make you afraid of getting Tsuki later, right? So it's something that both the person doing it and the person receiving have to grow in confidence. Oh, okay, guys, I always say it. The hajime, especially after the fight started, so if they say hajime, they stop the fight and hajime again, is a very dangerous position to go in blindly. Look at this exchange right here. Let's watch it slow motion. So white throws a kote, and red had a forward intention to go in, and he's able to get that man because he wasn't just there waiting, right? He had that intention towards the opponent, and the first reaction is to go in forward. Guys, always train yourself to not be covering back, but instead of going forward to your opponent. Oh wait, hold on. Let's play one more time. This is a beautiful man. I'm going to say again, if your first thought is to pull back and be defensive, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. Especially in training, again, I know we say it a lot, you shouldn't care about getting hit, but having that mentality that you're going to attack your opponent no matter what, even if they attack, could open the doors to many possibilities for your growth in Kendo. So if you see here, let's break this down a little bit. One thing that I feel makes it successful for Red to get the Ippon was that he had that intention towards the opponent, and after he deflected or he adjusted after he adjusted for the situation, he just went in forward without thinking about it, and he was able to get that opportunity. But let's break it down and see what happened. Red puts pressure forward, White decides to go for kote. So you see, Red kind of adjusted the distance by bringing the foot back, right? He steps forward. When his opponent comes forward, instead of going backwards fully, he just brings back the back foot to re-engage it and then push forward towards the opponent. This kind of shows the fact that he was intending to go forward rather than be defensive by going backwards so much.
네.
Yeah, beautiful man, right?
손목 치는 걸 비껴서 머리로 들어갔습니다.
네.
아주
남현준의
동작이
득점.
빠르군요. 남윤 선수 아주 민첩하게
그렇습니다.
성공했습니다.
자, 수비와 공격까지
So now at this point, White is down by 1 point. And there's plenty of time in the clock. The approach has to be different than the one that we saw before. Before, White just went in because he had 7 seconds left. Now this guy has 3 minutes, so he has to recoup himself, gather his knowledge, his strength, and go in with a plan of not messing things up by just attacking, right?
자, 몸으로 밀어붙이는 박정현.
So Red is becoming a little bit defensive, but he still has that forward intention. Good.
들어보고 있습니다. 자, 칼을 들 때 한 번 더 타격 시도.
상대가 나오려는 순간이 최고의 그 공격 그 순간이거든요.
네.
기회를 잡는 순간인데 이 최고의 그 공격.
Watch this attack from White. So I think it's a very good approach that White is using. That sliding his front foot and then going. Guys, I'm gonna say practice this, right? You're gonna have plenty of success if you get this skill under your belt. The slide and then attack. Added to that though is the fact that I feel in this specific exchange that he cannot make the decision to go forward a little bit too early. Ideally, I think if he would have brought, instead of doing this at this moment, he would have taken slightly half a second to bring the back foot forward, made it enough where he could have been a little bit closer, set off the timing a little bit differently to be able to go into an attack. Jan, hi, welcome to the stream. Thank you for passing by. You need to leave soon, but this is an interesting. I thought Korea is using white and blue flags. You love the yoga marking that are very clear. Yes, I love this. I think it would, especially for shimpans that are not very experienced, I think this is extremely helpful. I think that the markers for regular tournaments should be done, on the tare. It could be expensive, I guess. Maybe you can make the players have it, but yeah, this is a great idea. And the fact that they have the kendo gi associated with the color, that's a little bit extra, but thank you for passing by. Really appreciate it, man.
남현준 선수가 박정현 선수 나오는 그 기회를 포착을 해서 자꾸 칼이 나갑니다.
I was talking with a friend of mine this week, and guys, I also want to make you aware of this thing that we're talking about it. Many times when we separate from our opponent or we're coming in close to re-engage, mentally I see people that are only ready when they get to this distance. They're ready to go, they're ready to start putting pressure at this distance. For me, this is too late. You want to show your engagement, especially for testing, even before this distance. I think red in this case is the one that's kind of behind on this. So white is coming in with pressure and a little bit more, I'm not gonna say confidence, but a little bit more readiness. So if I have to guess, I'm gonna guess that red is about to make a desperate attack or like a desperate move, either going backwards or just attacking. Oh, but he didn't. Okay, very nice. But you see, he has him on the defense. He has him on the way back. Westblade, thank you very much for passing by. Great stream again. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Advices are always welcome, by the way.
상당히 많이 부딪히는
And if anybody would like to send me your videos or send me videos to watch,
서두르지 않는
feel free to pass by the Discord server,
근데
or you can just message me at some point, like send me a comment as well here.
좋기 때문에 뚫고 들어가지 못하죠.
자, 활발하게 움직여 보고 있습니다.
지금도
네.
들어가려고 하면서 칼이 들었죠. 저렇게 들으면 기회가 사라지는 겁니다.
네.
중단 그대로 겨누고 그대로 밀고 들어가야 됩니다.
거리를 확실히 좀 좁힌 이후에
네, 그렇죠.
공격이 들어가야 될 텐데.
네. 칼을 움직이지 않고 그대로 참고 들어가야 됩니다.
네.
거리를 안
Look at the how they white tries to make this to come in, and red is kind of coming in coming out with the same at the same rhythm, same speed, trying to keep each other with that contact of the sword. Watch this. See, trying to keep in that distance.
가서고 있는 박정현. 네.
거리를
어.
누르다가 나오는 순간에 또 앞으로 들어가죠.
네.
그 남현준 선수 영리하게 경기를 하고 있습니다.
1분 35초 남았습니다.
Again, this is a very dangerous spot at the Hajime. And he's coming in
네, 맞지 않았고
pretty blindly. That could have cost him a point.
겨누고 있습니다.
Oh. White is like, turning up, I guess.
스텝을 많이 밟아.
Red is not falling asleep though.
네, 손목.
약간 빗맞고 약했습니다.
네.
네. 근데 빈틈은 잘 봤어요.
이번에
That was a beautiful timing on that kote. Oh.
약했습니다.
네.
네. 근데 빈틈은 잘 봤어요.
이번에
What makes this kote so visually pleasing, and what makes this kote good? First of all, you guys think it was a good kote or no? First, it was the sound, right? Even with the bad quality of sound that we're getting from the tournament, we're getting a clear sound on that kote. But what happens? Okay, so they separate each other. Again, they're engaged before the swords start touching. White comes in. Many times when I see people do kote, they do a couple of things that takes away sharpness from their kote. One is that they come in and attack kind of all in one timing, all in one all in one speed, and it makes it easier to anticipate, but even when it hits, it doesn't feel sharp. The other thing that people do is that they approach the target, but as they approach it, they're stretching their hands. So by the time that they engage the sword to go around for the kote, it doesn't have that much power. But there's two things that I feel Red did here that makes it extremely important in order to get a good and sharp. There's two things that Red did here that makes it very sharp. One is that he's coming in with pressure with the footwork, and he's not engaging into the kote. He's kind of just setting himself up, but at the moment that he goes for the kote, he sharply goes forward. That being said, I don't want this to be misinterpreted. He's not coming in too close before he engages into the kote. Many times people, they just do the same thing. They just lift the sword and they approach and come forward. This is not what he's doing. Again, his opponent is coming to him, so he's setting up himself around the sword and then going forward. Let me see. So if you look at it in one run, it looks like he's changing the timing of the up and the downswing. So he's going relaxed on the way up and sharp on the way down. Watch in real time.
빈틈은 잘 봤어.
이번엔 득점.
So it is very important. It's very important to understand. Okay. It's very important to understand that you can change the timing of your swing, but you also have to make sure that you, on the way down, you have all your ability to throw power into your strike. So doing things like stretching your hands before the strike, this takes away power. Also, going at the same speed of the way up and way down. Hold on, let me reset this because I feel like now I kind of went too many different places. There is a different, you can play with the timing, you can make your kote sharper by making sure that when you come down, you go with a good effort, with a good force. You want to avoid having your hands stretched before the commitment because then you cannot really use your arms to put power behind your sword. So as you approach your opponent, you don't want to approach him by stretching your hands. You want to approach him with your footwork. Then you can go for the technique. The beautiful thing about this kote is that he changes the timing of his kote, making it, I think, even look a little bit sharper because he's going in with his body. He's going in with his body. He's raising the sword at one speed and bringing it down another speed. This helps you understand. This helps you play with the timing, but also makes your strike look much sharper. So if you watch,
근데 빈틈은 잘 봤어.
이번엔
약했습니다.
one more time.
빈틈은 잘 봤어.
Augusto, you're saying it's amazing how small he makes himself after he hits to avoid the man. Let's see. So he hits the kote. Yeah, I think it probably would have been a reflex, but yeah, you're right. Like he goes down to get out of the man. I don't recommend this, especially for testing. Shiai, okay. But I think it was just reflex, you know. Not gonna say it's the best. Discipline, good kote, but the posture is bad. It's better to come in with the intention to do tari after the kote to protect yourself. Again, yeah, like I think it's reflex. I'm not gonna take away the beautifulness of this kote from that reaction because again, it's just a natural reaction. We're all humans. We're not perfect, and they're college students. They're not testing. They're fighting with all their might. So the reason why I say this is because many times people kind of just take away from the strength of their kendo by keeping all these standards rather than allow themselves to be free. So for shiai, I think it's okay. Okay, so we watch high school, we watch college. Now let's watch the male quarterfinals. The male semifinals. We're gonna go 109 right here.
학부 준결승까지 만나봤고 이어서 일반부 준결승 이어지.
장해찬 선수는 용인대학교 용인시청 출신.
Again, that white gi. One thing that, okay, hold on. I'm gonna say this. One thing that I like about the Korean bogu right now is that they're coming out with like a couple different things. I'm guessing they started this to try to look different from the Japanese bogu, and you see a lot of the different colorful doughs and the it's orisashi, right? Like the step of mune. That makes it nice. It makes it nice. I think this brown is a little bit too like, I don't know. It looks more like oil paint, so I don't like specifically that color, but I like the variety they have. Okay, if this was testing, I would say that what red just did, don't like it. This engages the sword, moves around like this, don't like it at all. Right, you're saying you're not gonna lie. You used to think the same way, not right posture until you start going to more and more taikai. You have seen this, and the person hitting kote receive men in order to keep posture. You just give the men, yeah, and it's a listen. Like you're not only fighting the opponent, you're also trying to keep yourself safe from the judges' misperception. So I agree, yeah. That being said, I'm not gonna say. Oh, sorry. Let me just stop that for a second. I'm not gonna say that you should do this. I'm not saying that this is what it should be done because shiai, this is whatever. No. I'm saying that in this point, I feel that it was done as a reaction. I don't think it was done on purpose. And maybe if it wasn't done on purpose, this is something that needs to be addressed. For testing, for example, you should be able to do this and receive your man because you shouldn't be afraid of getting hit. That being said, in this position, when you're reacting, because you're putting all your might into it, all your effort into it, I say it's okay. But this is not something that we should strive to replicate though. So yes, I know sometimes people say, oh, because the judges and stuff like this. But the main thing should be maybe because he saw a sword coming his way, he was just trying to dodge it. That's it. Oh.
초반부터 지금 기싸움이 팽팽한데요.
그 고등부 경기를 보다가 일반부 경기를 보니까 굉장히 차분한 느낌이 들죠.
네.
좀 정돈이 된 느낌.
고요하면서도 상당한 긴장감이 느껴집니다.
네, 맞습니다.
I want to say this, guys. A lot of times when I see, especially people trying to replicate what we see in videos, that they move the sword a lot with not purpose. Look how White moves his sword. Okay? Look at the sharpness of each movement. This is done with proper tenouchi. The reason why I say that this is a problem when people move the sword a lot without purpose is because they do two things that are wrong. First, they're not trying to communicate with the person. They're just moving around. Maybe because they're nervous. So what that does is that when they're about to attack, the tendency is to stop these motions before they attack. So you're letting your opponent know when you're coming. But the second thing, let me show you this here, is that as they move the shinai, they move the shinai with a lot of like, it's not solid, right? So it moves a lot without really engagement of the hands. You should have your hands in the proper position, and all this is done with tenouchi. You're not just moving the sword. You should be using tenouchi along the way. Like for example, like with sharp little, like, you know, trying to knock the sword, trying to take control of the sword. You put it along with tenouchi. You don't just randomly move your sword around. And if you watch here, White, look how sharp the motions are every time he moves it in this exchange. Wait, he did one that was a little bit cool before. See, he's keeping the center, down, up, sharp, moving around sharp, coming up, sharp, back down. And by the way, these are one of the things that you can practice at home. Okay, like being on kamae, moving your feet and just moving the sword this way. This is something that you can do at home. You look crazy, but I really like White's control he has on his sword. Right, it's a thing you want to avoid, but it's not necessarily bad for shiai. Yeah, correct. Talking about the movement of the head. Must be mindful in how. Yeah. I don't want to be misinterpreted, so you get it. I don't want people to start saying, "Oh yeah, like this is cool and it's okay to do." Not okay.
중에도 참음이 있고 또
What is cool and good to do is that kote, man. Look at that. Oh, sorry. Okay, so if you watch, red, when you have a mindset that you're going to attack, your first reaction ends up being a technique rather than blocking, holding back, or whatever. Like instead of blocking, dodging, going back, or keeping distance. And this is beneficial because it can open many doors to get. It can open many doors to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves when your opponent makes a mistake. So if you watch red, he's not gonna make an ippon, but his first intention, his first thought is to go forward and attack.
검도에서는 공격
Not only that, he does this with multiple waza.
검도에서는
So if you watch, white puts pressure and immediately red throws in the technique. White could have easily kept the kote a little bit more exposed for a fraction of a second and red would have been able to strike. So when you have that forward intention, many times the first reaction for people is to go back. And as a matter of fact, if you see, red starts going back, but instead of moving his body back, he anchors his back leg to go forward. From there, he immediately engages in the kote, and after he sees that he misses, he goes for the man. So he had two opportunities to get a strike where his opponent, where if he would have gone backwards, he would have had zero. And it's also a good way to keep himself safe too, because going backwards could put you in a really bad position. I feel here he was able to control the situation and at least go out with less risk.
공격 중에도
Let's see, discipline. You avoid crouching after kote. It takes twice the work to reset if you miss instead of coming in with a tatari where you're ready for a faster reset. Yes, but I don't think it has to do with going in for a tatari. I think what happened is at this point, the guy felt confident for that kote and then went away. So, I don't know. I could be wrong. Right, so you personally have been working on head movement instead of body. You mean like at the moment where like people are attacking? I think this is something that, you know, it can put you in a bad position. And the reason for that, I'm just assuming because I don't know how is it that you're working or where specifically you're working on. But I'm just going to say, from my experience, many times when people kind of like move this way, they end up throwing the sword the other way. And this kind of puts many people in a bad situation, especially if the person can do several techniques in one place. If you're fighting against somebody that can go like man, like this, for example, they tend to be, in a very bad position. Which, by the way, these type of attacks are very good against Nito players.
참음이 있고 또 참음 중에서도 공격이 있어야 한다. 그래서 현대일치라는 용어가 있습니다.
네네.
가르침이. 그래서 공격하는 가운데도 그 항상 그 기다림을 갖고 있는 그런 마음을 가지고 있어야 된다.
그렇군요.
그리고 그 기다리면서도 공격의 마음을 가지고 기다리고 있어야지 상대가 나오는 걸 칠 수 있다 이거. 그래서 상당히 그거 어렵습니다만 그런 고도의 그러한 마음 자세가 필요합니다.
네. 이게 뭐 기술적인 수련뿐만 아니라 이 마음가짐을 수련하는
네.
게 검도기 때문에
검도는 마음가짐 굉장히 중요합니다.
네. 실제로 내가 공격하겠다는 마음을 먹고 있으면 그게 상대에게도 전달이 되잖아요.
그럼요.
네.
그리고 검도는
Okay, I was going to stop this
마음가짐
right here.
굉장히 중요합니다.
네.
Along with looking at the sharpness of somebody's sword, also the sharpness of somebody's footwork to approach. As we are going up in ranks, I'm saying we went through high school, college, now adults. You see how red right now, he's using his body to try to create a reaction and at the same time making sure that he's ready to go after the motion. So watch it.
공격하는
Give it a second.
마음을 먹고 있으면 그게 상대에게도 전달이 되잖아요.
He's going forward and backwards. You look at these little steps that he starts using to come in, to try to create a reaction, but be ready as quick as possible. So if you look before here, he's going forward and backwards. So he's not really committing to the weight on the front foot, right? He's kind of like just coming back and forward and back a little bit. Now here, he starts approaching with the right foot, and he's doing it, I think, again, this is my thoughts. He's doing it a little bit differently because now he's closer to his opponent. Now, after he's coming here, he's engaging his back leg immediately. He comes in and again engages his back leg immediately. You can see the sharpness of his movement based on how the hakama moves forward, right? Like moves forward and backwards, look. So cool. But anyway, so this is kind of some of the things that you want to try to put into your kendo. How to move sharply and quickly without any extra tension. And again, look at the footwork as he approaches. Always push pull, push pull, push pull. Right, Teramoto and Nishimura style. Kote and then close the distance and move my head after the strike to one side or the other, keeping your posture as straight as possible. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, so it's different than when I was assuming or putting in my head. Yes, and again, and this kind of goes to towards what discipline was saying, right? Discipline, you said you like to keep your body straight forward. The moving and the crouching and the moving around to like avoid the man, it doesn't mean that you don't want to keep your posture. Granted, it happens sometimes, but if you watch those kotes, for example, Nishimura, they're not the best example of beautiful. Not want to say beautiful because many people will say that it's a beautiful kote, but it might not be the textbook of correct, but it's something that is solid, right? They're not in a bad position after that kote. The problem is when we try to replicate it and don't do it correctly. This is where the problem is.
좋은 순간을 포착하지 못하면 무용지물이죠.
Both of these competitors are great at keeping the intention towards the opponent.
다시 한번 다가가 보는 장혜찬.
Oh, that shiai almost broke.
쉽게 내주지 않.
You guys saw that? I thought it broke though. I thought that shiai broke. Look at that. How that shiai didn't break? I don't know. I think I can't tell because of the sound of the strike, but
일본부 선수들이라 역시 백중합니다.
네.
yes, but it's Chinese bamboo, he said, right?
서로 지금 중심 뺏기 하고 있습니다.
네. 자, 서로 지금 뺏고 또 뺏기지 않기 위해서
계속 서로 압박을 가하고 또 피했다가 또 압박을 가하고 지금 아주 신중하게 경기를 하고 있습니다.
네. 자,
Oh my good man. Sorry guys. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was crazy. Watch this Ippon.
자.
What makes this Ippon so good?
네.
I think somebody that's becoming known for doing this is Hoshiko, and this is a great skill to have, but it has to be done correctly because you don't want to go backwards and take away the intention from your opponent. If you look at what happens here, red comes in to give pressure to white. White decides to go forward, but now red it's holding slightly, and when white decides to come in for the technique, red pretends to go back. He's not going back, he's just engaging his back leg slightly backwards, which does two things. One, it changes the distance and it makes the opponent feel that the person is going back, so it doesn't make the person hesitate, but it makes it want to adjust where the final strike is going to be, where the final it makes him want to adjust how far he needs to throw his technique. So this could cause a little bit of hesitation on the opponent. Now, number two, it also makes it where he adjusts the distance so he doesn't have to move too much in order to attack. You see, because he went backwards, his opponent has to now think, I have to readjust for my man. But now red is in the prime distance and already engaged forward, because as soon as he brought his back leg backwards, he engaged it to go forward. And he's able to immediately launch for the man without any other adjustment. So you see, white had to adjust. Red was already on the forward. Red was already on the forward intention, or red was already moving forward while white is adjusting, and he's able to come in for this technique. That being said, other things that are happening that makes it extremely powerful and makes it extremely successful is that red, as he's going back down and coming forward, the way that his sword is moving, he's not disengaging his hands from it. He has a lot of good control on the sword, the way he moves the sword around, under, and above. And then he throws a very compact man. Very compact but powerful man. This is done with proper hand engagement and tenouchi. Which, by the way, I had made 2 videos about those 2 things specifically. You can go watch in my channel. And that's how he's able to get a strong impact. That's how he's able to get a strong impact from such a short distance.
자,
안 맞았어.
지금은 네, 득점 인정되지 않습니다.
Oh, but that wasn't an Ippon. Oh,
빗 맞았습니다.
이예솔 선수가
Okay.
들어오는데 정확하게 타격을 하지 못했습니다.
this wasn't an Ippon, but a very, very cool moment to study.
남은 시간 40초.
Yeah, discipline. It was a very nice attempt. I thought it was an Ippon. I mean, one judge too, at least, thought it was an Ippon.
다시 팽팽한 겨눈 자세. 실제로 검도 수련하시는 분들도 지금 많이 중계를
I think this is one of the types of fights that if he goes to Encho, it's going to be over quick in the Encho. Maybe at the Hajime.
시간이 이제 거의 다 됐습니다. 5초 남았습니다. 네, 그대로
연장 또.
네, 일반부 준결승 첫 경기 연장으로 가겠습니다. 연장은 점수가 날 때까지 시간 제한 없이 진행됩니다.
주먹 맞았다.
Okay, I was wrong. That was a crazy kote though.
진행됩니다.
The men too. This look like they're just hugging.
지금 장예찬 선수도 자세가 참 좋네요.
네, 좋습니다.
네.
둘 다 아주 좋은 자세를 갖고 있습니다.
Wait, what happened? Ah, something with his tape or something.
물질이 좀 있었던 것
His
같아요.
protector.
네.
그렇지 않으면 뭐
장해찬 선수가 잠시 중단을 요구했었고 다시 경기 시작됩니다.
Oh.
아, 뚫리지 않네요.
이해솔 선수 칼이 위에 있기 때문에
네네.
칼에 눌리니까 맞질 않죠.
Okay, this is worth watching for a second.
네네.
칼에 눌리니까
He throws, he goes up, and he goes down with katate men. Very interesting attempt to kind of make up for the distance. Changing things a little bit, but it could also be an indication that he's getting frustrated. So he's changing what he normally, like, he's going away from his norm of his own kendo, right? Maybe?
저런 한 손으로 치는 저런
Which is something that you want. I'm only saying this because when you're in tournament, you want to watch this out for yourself. A lot of times we say we think to ourselves, I'm gonna try something new just to change the things up. But this can also mean that you're starting to get into your own head. So you start maybe losing faith in your own kendo or so on.
쪽이 아닙니다.
네. 검끝을 건드려 보고 있는 이해솔. 장해찬. 아, 네.
깊게 뻗어서 들어갔어야 되는데 땡겨서 칼이 빗나갔죠.
네.
손목을 들어갔는데 빗맞았습니다.
검을 맞대보는 두 선수.
그 격자의 기회를 잡기가 굉장히 어렵죠.
아, 예.
서로가 비슷한 그 수준에 있기 때문에 집중력이 흐트러지면 맞는 순간입니다.
자, 지금 뭐 쉽게 칼을 들지 못합니다.
네.
아, 거리도 잘 좁혀지지 않고요.
네.
I'm not gonna say that one person looks stronger than the other. I think it's pretty even.
지금 잘 읽고
I feel that white has a little bit more of like a bigger presence, but I feel that red
팽팽한
at the same time is kind of just
네,
손목
들어갔습니다.
okay. I was gonna say that red, it was kind of trying to start to mess up with white's confidence, but again, white has had a good presence during this fight, and especially towards the end, which made it in a confidence level. I think this is very important.
손목
But this is the importance, guys, of understanding Tame, I think, at this point. I think this Ippon was brought to you not only by proper footwork, but also Tame. If you look at how white approached red, he comes in, he starts putting pressure on him. He puts pressure on the shiai, try to suppress the shiai, making red kind of wanting to do something. But instead of immediately going for a technique, I guess white had the need to feel, I guess white felt threatened, so he started covering for the man. But immediately he switched up to hit the kote. When I say the part of Tame is that I feel that many people, when they come in and they do this, where they just suppress the sword, a lot of times they just shoot. And I think for us to learn and understand when is the right time to go is crucial, because maybe at this position, even if he had control of the center, that doesn't mean he's going to have enough time to get to the target before his opponent can do something, whether it is kaeshi or just moving out of the way. So he was able to put the pressure, come in a very dangerous distance, and then he took the opportunity when it presented itself rather than just blindly going just because he felt that he had the center at that point. So I think a lot of times it's important to understand not only when you have the center, when you're controlling the center, but is it the right moment for you to attack based on the situation. That being said, beautiful Ippon.
팽팽한 균형을 깰 수 있을지.
네,
네, 들어갔습니다.
And Luis, or remind me, yeah, right, like you were the one saying about the turning. Is this a little bit kind of what you're talking about? Because I guess it's kind of like what I imagine talking about with Nishimura, right? That like he hits the kote and then re-engages the center out. So discipline, I also would like to know your opinion, because I guess in this situation, I think this is one of the safest things to do, because if he would have been forward, it could have been a bad position where his head could be pushed back. I don't think we'd have enough. I don't think we'd have been able to hit such a sharp kote if he would have gone forward that way. We saw earlier in the other match when the shiai kind of got stuck that I thought it was gonna break, that when you go forward, sometimes you also take away from the sharpness of your impact. So I think in this scenario, in this case, that turning to the side, trying to ground yourself, it's a good reaction to it.
자, 누가 먼저 이 팽팽한 균형을 깰 수 있을지.
네,
네, 들어갔습니다. 장애찬
Very nice kote.
서둘렀습니다.
네,
그걸 놓치지 않고 장희찬 선수가 아주 손목을 멋지게 성공했습니다.
장애찬의 승리입니다. 일반부 결승 진출.
Okay, guys, if you haven't, please hit the like button. I guess I haven't said this in the stream at all, but if you haven't, please take a second to hit the like button. It really helps the stream to be pushed out to more people. I will appreciate if you could pass by and check out the Discord server. Let me put the link out there if you haven't been there. If you would like to meet some cool people that do kendo, please let me know. Pass by the Discord channel and the Discord server, and then you can do so there. Also, if you could pass by and check out the memberships, if you would like to become a member, support Kendo Tips, I'll put the link right there. Right, this is really bad. You understand why he moved like that? It's just how the body naturally moved. It was more so talking about kote with a little bit more distant. Okay, so maybe I'm not understanding what you said. I think for the position I went too bad. Wait, is this the kote? Wait, okay.
저게 바로 아주 손목을 잘.
Sorry, let me just put this over here. Okay, I think that this motion to the side, if he would have gone forward, I think if he would have gone forward, he wouldn't have had I think he was more in the distance to do like a hikikote, right? And because of the forward momentum, I don't think he could have gone backwards. So when he did this kote, now he hit the kote crouching. This part is the bad part. But what I'm talking about is this right here. Receiving the kote, receiving the taatari, or receiving the person to the side. What I'm saying is that after the kote, yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't want to be any misunderstanding on this. I'm not saying that the way that he hit the kote and went down is good. No. I'm saying, and I thought that this was what you were talking about when we were talking about the Nishimura kote, is to receive the opponent, the tatari, like this. I think for the distance that he's in, he's not able to go backwards quick enough, so that will mess up his zanshin. Going forward, I think he would have messed up his the sharpness of his strike. And being straightforward, I think would have put him in a bad position, having the body of the person coming in straight forward. Like bad position where he had to, he could have be pushed back or be in an awkward position. So receiving this way a little bit lower, I think it was one of the safest ways to receive the taatari. That's what I meant. I didn't mean that it's okay to hit the kote like in such a, like this. Right? No. Yeah, no, that's not what I meant. You're saying Nishimura is a bad example because he does the kote. You were talking about only every so often. Teramoto is a way better example of what you're talking about. Okay, maybe so I can get out the images that I have in my head. Maybe send me a video when you get a chance of this specific thing. That'll be awesome. But yeah, so what I wanted to say in this one specifically is that the turning, as we strike, because many people, the reason why I'm focusing a lot on this thing right now is because I see that many people even hit the kote like this, right? Or they even, there's the same thing that we're talking before of pulling the sword right after they strike, that it takes away from the impact, makes it look weak. Sometimes people do that, so like they strike as they're moving back, so they're fighting against the momentum of the sword, making it look bad. What I'm talking about here specifically is the moment of the impact of the bodies and how receive them. So yeah, please, I don't want. I guess the more I talk now, I'm confusing it more. Okay, Rice is saying he's in a kote on at the end. Basically, is hitting men midair. Basically, the only thing posture-wise he could do it in that situation. Okay, you'll send me a video later. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna I'm not gonna talk more about it because I guess I'm confusing it a little bit more too. But that being said, guys, it's always interesting to me to watch different tournaments from different parts of the world. I think that it's very dynamic. I don't know what differences could you see from the Korean Kendo and the Japanese Kendo tournaments. I like that Korea has their own Kendo, but meaning that they have their own Kendo doesn't mean that it's not Kendo or like what we're used to Kendo. I think there's a lot of similarities, and I'm seeing a lot of techniques, a lot of people, especially in these last matches, a lot of people trying to control the sword and doing different techniques to get openings. And this, I think, is one thing that is missing a lot in Kendo outside of Japan, maybe outside of Japan and Korea, where we're lacking the communication and the techniques that we can do in order to make an opening, to have a successful strike, a successful technique. Many times I feel that people are so focused on, I'm just going to hit the man, I'm just going to hit the kote, that they don't do even kote man, they don't do anything else but just those two things, or maybe even just kaishido, and they just kind of get stuck on that. So that being said, thank you guys for being here. I'm going to cut it off here for today. I think I went a little bit past my time. But thank you very much, guys, for being here. You guys keep me motivated to keep learning, starting these things. If you would like, please pass by the Discord channel. If you need to send me a message, you can do so there. And also, if you can meet a lot of different people that do Kendo as well. Guys, thank you very much for being here. I hope to see you guys next week. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.